showed him enough pictures that it was absolutely obvious that there were buildings up there. I said, now, Bob, your promise is you promised to kill yourself. And so he signed the following statement dated August 5th, 1998. I, Bob Lazar, in return for not having to honor the commitment to kill myself, if any of John's moon stuff was true, do freely admit that the object in the crater Copernicus on the moon is a box which I don't know what is doing there. Signed, Bob Lazar.
I love it. I love it. Back to the phones we go. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with John Lear. Hi there.
Hi, this is Al from Anaheim.
Hi there, Al.
Hi. Hey, John, some of the things you've said tonight have really piqued my interest, especially some of the stuff on the moon. It's not the first time I've heard from a couple of other sources, various things going on, including Felix Bach and others. But what really piqued my interest was this, what you said earlier about souls. They're harvesting souls or something like that. And I'm wondering how this, number one, is this some kind of an electronic or electromagnetic device or something that's implanted in order to get these experiences and record them? Or is it something else? And also, how do you fit that into your idea of our own spirituality, or if we have such a thing as spirituality?
Well, that is our spirituality. It is a little, it's like a little recorder, smaller than you could imagine, and it just records everything. And it is zipped back and forth and records every lifetime.
And would that account for, I know there's people that have done studies on, weighing right after death and so forth, and does that have anything to do, perhaps have to do with that or not?
I don't know. I hear that, the end of your life, you see the white light in the tunnel. That's probably part of the program to make you feel good about everything. But one of the ways that I figured out where the souls were going is McMonagle, who was one of the original remote viewers, was tasked to follow a soul. And the Army tasked him. There was somebody who was killed driving south of San Francisco, and he followed the soul going towards the moon, and he said as we were getting closer to the moon, whatever it was, the soul was getting wrapped in something, and he kept hearing, this is not your place, you may not come any closer, to the point where when he got closer to the moon, McMonagle felt that he would die if he went any closer, because they didn't want him to follow to where the soul was going to.
Very interesting.
And that's in McMonagle's book.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Thank you.
All right, Al. Thanks. Appreciate you being part of the program. First-time caller line, we'll get you in. You're on Coast to Coast. Hi.
Hello, Nighthawk. How are you?
Good. Thanks.
This is Rick from Des Moines.
Go ahead.
WHO.
Rick. Yeah.
Mr. Lear.
Sir.
The previous caller, not this last one, but the one before the break, had mentioned SETI. And what I'd like to know is, private and amateur astronomers for the past 50 years have said nothing, have seen nothing, have produced nothing. And how come, why is that?
I don't know.
About anything that you claim.
Excuse me?
About anything that you claim. They have not seen, produced, or talked about anything that you claim.
Okay, what particularly, what are you talking about? You mean about saucers? Or
I'm talking about anything that you have claimed so far.
I just don't have an answer for you.
Okay, the other thing is, if say anti-grav has been around for 50 years, how come they meaning the black ops that you're talking about, or however you want to word it, how come they can't give a little bit to the human race and say, here, this is for the betterment of the human race? Anti-grav, electric cars. I mean, why are we walking around like ants if all this stuff actually exists?
That's the big question.
That's a good question.
What's the good answer?
I don't know what the answer is.
Okay, Mr. Lear, the last thing is you talk about stuff and people's eyes glaze over. They glaze over because of the last two answers you just gave me. You have no proof of anything. It's your word. And you know what? Mr. Hoagland has started to disappoint a few people, including Art Bell, by talking about weather manipulation, and now he's siding with you. And this whole thing is getting a little ridiculous.
You don't believe in weather manipulation?
Sir,
The Chinese.
I don't believe in anything.
Hey. The Chinese just had it rain almost an inch over Beijing.
Oh, come on. That's
last week.
Silver iodide.
Well, isn't that weather?
I'm talking about with.
Isn't that weather manipulation?
Okay, I'm talking about HAARP. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about chemicals. I'm talking about what Hoagland believes moving a hurricane. You going to do with that silver cyanide?
Iodide.
Whatever. Are you going to do it with that?
Not with that, but who knows what they have?
Well,
you got to. Hey,
apparently, you seem to know what they have since 1962. Hoagland was Concrite's big buddy in '62, and you're telling me he didn't know anything? You're telling 10 million people a bunch of crap.
Well, and that's the word that gets you tossed off the air. God, see, he doesn't have an open mind, John.
Well, yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
We've got time for just a quick one before we take the Lear disclosure. East of the Rockies, you're on Coast to Coast, but it is lively. I like that.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, this is Steve from Oklahoma City.
Steve, about a minute for you.
Mr. Lear, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
I'm a pilot and flight instructor, and my question is this. For years, I've been teaching my students that Bernoulli's principle is what creates, how the wing creates lift on an airplane. And I had an aeronautical engineer one day come up to me and say that was that wasn't accurate. All the textbooks were wrong. That Bernoulli's principle really only accounts for about 10 or 15% of lift, not 75 or 80%, as the textbooks say. And he'd been trying for years to get that changed. And I've seen some stuff on the Internet that kind of collaborates what he said, but when they try to explain how the wing really generates lift, it's kind of above my head.
30 seconds, John. I got to cut him, but can you give him a quick one on that?
I've heard that argument, too. It's interesting. I'd like to know what the answer is.
All right, John, I'm going to play your disclosure project. You can listen to it at home if you want. No sense you hanging on for 10 minutes here. And first of all, I want to thank you for an enlightening, fascinating discussion.
Okay, it's been great talking with you, George.
All right, that's John Lear. It is an interesting one, I'll tell you that. I'll be back in a moment, but first, let's let you listen again to the Lear disclosure, 2.5 years old, when he was talking on Coast to Coast AM about what could be.
Okay, let's say the government chose me. They were going to use me as an outlet to release this information. Let's just say they did that and they took me to a briefing. Then what, John?
Okay, they whisk you to Washington, D.C. You get limoed to this building, beautiful building. You go up into this room. They say, Art, you're the guy. If you give us the go-ahead, we're going to release everything we know to the public. And if you decide to go ahead, all major networks will be provided with information on all aspects of the cover-up. No type of information will be withheld because of the deal for immunity for all participants of the cover-up provides that nothing, no artifact, no piece of information be withheld. So here's what happened, Art. And, of course, this we'll use some videos and stills. Our first UFO recoveries were in the late 30s. We made a couple in the beginning of the 40s, and then came Roswell, which the public found out about. We got 2 live aliens from Roswell. One died shortly thereafter. One lived until 1956. And we found out that so far there are 18 different alien species that we know about monitoring Earth. Some are good, some are hostile. Most are indifferent. We found out that we are the experiment or product, if you will, of an alien race who we never met and really don't know who they are. All we know is that the Greys are cybernetic organisms, glorified robots, if you will, who work here at the behest of their employers, monitoring us through abductions. We were never able to find out what the experiment is all about, except that we have been externally corrected about 65 times, and they, the aliens, refer to us as containers. There has been speculation that the souls our bodies contains is the reason for the experiment, but nothing has been proven or determined. Since 1938, we have lost over 200 aircraft to UFO hostilities and thousands of soldiers in all kinds of different kinds of action with aliens. Since that time, several 100,000 civilians have disappeared with no trace. Several thousand were eliminated by us because of their chance encounters with aliens, which we could ill afford to have publicized. A slightly more frightening phenomena known as human mutilations have occurred on a regular basis and are similar to the cattle mutilations in that the humans are